Hi folks, welcome back to another Harry's Hobbies video. And yes, I'm still working on the Yamaha Virago. And while I'm waiting for some other parts to dry, I thought I would get a little good start on the base that I'll be using for this display. And it's an old, very small cutting board that's just about perfect. And I've already taped it off. And what I've done on the other side, if you watch some of my other videos, I've already added a little bit of ground cover, but as you can see, it's a very bright green, and we really don't want that. So, to start with, I'm going to use a cocoa brown color, and this is pretty simple to do. I just put some on right onto the green itself. And then just using a brush, I cover the entire area. And the taped off area, that'll come into play once I get a good covering and we change out. Pull the tape off. That's covering it right now. I use just a painter's tape. And then I use the Elmer's glue over where I want the sand to go. And I let that dry. I did this early this morning. So I've let it dry for quite a little while now. And we get a good coat of the brown to cover up all the green. I'm not worried about this green over here because that's going to pull off anyway. And since this is a water-based paint, cleanup's real easy. I just have a little can of water right close by. I want to get a little more of that paint off. Not so much so that it dries a little quicker, but I want to go ahead and start on getting some of the other colors on board. So I get the little piece of cardboard that I use as a kind of a color palette. And I get this is a citrus green. And I put a little dollop onto the little piece of cardboard. Coat the brush in it a little bit. And then we just start to lightly brush. And yes, the paint's still wet. I want it to be wet so that it blends a little bit. And occasionally I use wait till it dries. But this way it kind of blends in with the brown. And it'll give it that kind of used texture that I'm looking for. And I don't pour too much on here, because I don't really like to waste the paint, even though it's relatively cheap. But a little bit when you're doing this way does go a long way. Sorry, I have to angle this so that I can see where I need to add more color to it. And I still haven't decided if I'm going to add any kind of bushes. Probably not, because I think that the this little bit of turf area is going to be enough. And clean out the brush again. Then I'm going to get another green. This is called fresh foliage. Shake it up pretty good. Isn't that a lovely noise? Ah, well. Yeah, even after all these years, I still find little noises like that somewhat amusing. And then again, I'm just going to brush over the damp areas, getting the green to blend in. And you know, believe it or not, where I got the idea for doing this while the paint is still wet is from Bob Ross, who did those amazing paintings back in the day. It's a shame that he passed away so young. But he did some amazing paintings, you know, within what, a 30-minute period on his show? I guess there's a museum out there with his stuff in it too. And I don't know if you can hear in the background, but it's raining here right now. And I'm out in the workshop doing this. And we'll add a little bit more of this before we quit. And I've got that dark brown that was on here. It's kind of turned into a murky mud type color, and that's kind of what I was looking for. And that's just due to the blending and blending and blending. And then after that dries, I have a lighter green that I'll go over it in a dry brush fashion. I'm not going to do that now till it dries. And that color is going to be this spring green, and that'll just kind of be dappled over the top when this gets a little more dried out, because I don't want to mix this into the color. So I'm going to let that dry. Well, I've given enough time for the paint to dry on the base, and all I'm going to do here is touch it up. Well, not really touch it up. I'm just going to add some of this bright green that I had mentioned in the previous part one of this, actually. And all I'm going to do is take one of my really stiff brushes, and I'm going to take some of that lighter color green and just dab it on around. That'll give it a little bright color, just to brighten it up and help offset the mud color. And this is just done with a dry brush effect. Almost no paint on the tip of the brush. And this will actually dry a little darker than what you see. And that's it for that. And I'm going to clean the brush out. And then I'm going to switch colors. And I'm going to, believe it or not, I'm going to add a glow color. And this really doesn't do a lot as far as the color goes, but it does help in photos, depending on what light I use to shoot them under, as this dries almost clear. And again, I'm going to just brush it across. Even though it starts off as a green, it will dry in as almost clear. I'm going to get this on here quite a bit. You can see I'm not drying the brush out as much as I did with the dry brushing. So now that that's done, the painting is complete. So what you'll get to see now is, and let's hope this goes good, because I haven't attempted to do this on wood. I've done it on other mediums, but not so much on the wood. And we're going to take off the tape that I have used to helpfully leave some of the wood exposed. We're just going to peel this back. And take it off a little bit at a time. And obviously I'm not going to be reusing this tape, so it goes right into the trash can, which fortunately is really close by and a convenient spot right next to me. Now on the back side, I did have to use some Scotch tape to hold down that painter's tape, because it was the air was so moist that the painter's tape wasn't holding that well. And I did that so that it didn't pull up the painter's tape while I was doing the gluing and the painting of the sand onto the base. And that's all the Scotch tape off. And then we're going to start peeling off the painter's tape and getting it ready to go. And then I had to remember which way I went when I added these on for the cuts. And here we go. We're going to pull the tape back. And bring it off. And this is actually working out pretty nicely. We've got all the painter's tape off. And as you can see, I've got a few little ridges, and that's fine. That's fine. This is what I want. This is the look I was going for, because the bike itself is going to sit on in about this position, with the front wheels extending out in this direction. And I'm still not going to show the little addition that'll go over here. But that's the That's the general gist of how this is going to go. And I'll seal this up with a clear coat. I've got some clear polyurethane that I'll use to seal. There's not much left in this, so this will be a nice sealer for the base. And I've got just a little bit of the sand right here that kind of extend it over. And for that, all I'm going to do is just take a little piece of sandpaper and we'll get rid of that. Just that easy, that quick. And as I said, this is just an old cutting board, and one of these side pieces is actually broken off, so it got glued back on. And that's where we stand with the base. So once again, I hope you enjoyed this little quick and very short tutorial video. And then I'll be back and continue on with the motorcycle build itself, because obviously the motorcycle is far from completed, and that'll be coming up. So stay tuned, and again, thanks for watching.